Hubraum.
I am, and we might as well just start off. The clock is now approximately 10:30 a.m. And I'm going to start with a little presentation of what we're going to do today. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody to my name is not Trine, as the name tag says, but Søren, and I'm a consultant here at Event Center. For today's webinar, we are very lucky to that Jill Brockmann has accepted our invitation to come and give a talk. Professor both in Austin, Texas, and also at the New York City University. Jill is herself an experienced teacher and has wide skills in designing, planning, and managing e-learning. Jill is also skilled in communication and has co-authored We're going to record the webinar and put it on YouTube, so all the participants and other of interest in this field can use it afterwards. We'll put it on YouTube on the channel of Event Center, so you'll locate it there. Using the chat in the lower corner of your screen. Because this webinar is in English, we are expecting questions of clarifications, and please don't hold back. The rule is that there's no stupid questions today. See if we can put forth some of them. As the webinar's anchorman, I'll see if I can keep pace with all your questions, and I can see if it's possible to pause Jill a couple of times during her talk, and we'll make room for some of your questions.
Well, good morning. I am honored to have been asked to speak with all of you today. I want to keep this as brief as possible so that I have lots of time to answer questions. Locally in Mid-Jutland that mention that Facebook is really not used by college students or high school students. And that is actually true. meaning college students could talk with each other without their teachers knowing, without the school being able to look at their email addresses. They could plan parties, or they could talk about who broke up with who. We're allowing parents and aunts and uncles and bosses, employers, maybe even teenagers and up to mid-20s and maybe up into the early 30s to have a Facebook account and be active on Facebook because they didn't want their mother or maybe their the demographic between about 15 years old and 25 years old started slowing down on Facebook. And that was really an unforeseen event. Facebook didn't realize if we this age group would bump into their mother or their father or something, and it would be awkward for this young person to not be friends with their mother. The students started participating and interacting and even less and less. So they posted fewer pictures. They visited Facebook instead of 10 times a day. Maybe they visit once a day or once every other day. And so came up with something called Facebook groups. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. I just want to give you a little history on why these came to be. The idea of a private And so Facebook decided, well, let's create one. And there are many others out there on the internet. Most college age students have a Facebook parents or their boss or fellow employees or whatever. Um, so they still have the Facebook account, they just don't use it very much. And the wonderful thing about that is that Facebook groups can be completely private just with a single classroom and a single professor. So their parents or their valuable information hub for college classes or and even high school classes. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick here. I have a very short PowerPoint presentation. I'm just going to show you some examples, and then I'm actually going to dive right into showing you a real page and showing you basically exactly what happens to the page. We're going to do some, I'll show you how to upload a document. And so they're not having to learn any new software. So this first slide that I have up here, you can see some informational articles that I found online. And why that is, but the prevalent theory among the experts is this close connection to family and friends and employers or college professors or completely understand that, because when I was a teenager, I would take a phone call out in the garage because I didn't want any of my family to hear who I was talking to. If it was a boy or something, I wanted to be private, and that's basically what they're going rating. There was a study done by several of the top universities, Oxford being one of them, uh, and Columbia University in New York, and they found through some very elaborate testing important announcement. Maybe the test is not available online yet, or maybe class has been canceled because of illness, or maybe there's some other only 10% of the students that received that email actually opened the email. And of that 10%, only 1% actually responded or completed a However, on the other side of that equation, if the message was sent out on Facebook, meaning that the student received students would click to see what that message was. So that tells you right there that if your student and again, this is the reason I'm presenting this is this is just an option. There are many options out there. And this is not something that's mandatory for any of you, I don't believe. But I use it in my own each other face to face. So this way I communicate with all of them online, and then we meet in coffee shops for little study groups that are very informal. And those face to face groups are used are in this seminar or webinar, excuse me. How is it that you usually contact your students now? And if maybe Soren can sort of look at all the responses typed in and kind is anyone typing in any answers? LMS system, okay, an intranet. Without a doubt. However, the odds are going forward that email will be used less and less. Um, and I know for myself, but I also get all kinds of other emails about other topics. And it's very difficult for me to manage my email inbox. And I know it's the same way for students, because if they have 3 or 4 instructors that are sending 3 or wrong folder or whatever. I mean, I've heard every single excuse that students could ever come up with. Since I've been using Facebook, I don't get those excuses anymore because I've created one single pathway for my students. And I'm going to show you my Facebook group here in just a minute. I use it for class announcements. I say, you know, the assignment has been posted, the test is now available online. Let's love meeting my students in person. I have 36 students at Austin Community College this semester, and usually I have 4 or 5 show up for a little coffee group. I use it as an open forum where can you give me some advice? What do you think about this? I'll show you copies of those. And I also post surveys because sometimes my schedule changes and something that I had placed originally on the poll my students and say, talk to me. Tell me what your feelings are. This is what I can do. Which would be better for you? And I just poll my students. And they love that because it's interactive and they get to have a say. And I also post additional Guardian or some other publication that is relevant to what my students are learning that week. I can post all kinds of articles from all over the world. Week comes directly from me. Because there may be an author or a journalist or an expert out there that can explain a certain process much better than me. So I just agree with those. So I use it for just about everything. I still do use email when I want to send something private and very personal to one specific student, possibly a grade or can do a ton of stuff on Facebook groups. They can read any assignments or any instructions about assignments 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So they could do this, you know, on a Saturday morning in their pajamas with a cup of coffee, or they could do it you know, connection times and logging into specific servers. Facebook is available all over the world 24/7. The other thing is they can ask important for them to be able to ask questions in an environment where they aren't going to feel embarrassed and they feel a little more anonymous when they're online. I mean, their picture is there. They're laughing or chuckling or funny looks in the classroom or whatever. So most shy students or introverted students really overcome that and I find that's one element I love about it. Um, Students can post photos, they can take surveys, they can even create a survey. If they want to work in a team with someone, they want to say, we're studying Twitter crowdsourcing information in one of my courses, and they find an article in their day-to-day life as wonderful advantage for students because they already have been on Facebook. They know the platform. They're familiar with it already. Oftentimes, my students, I know a lot about Facebook, but I even have students that know more than I do. So screenshot of a Facebook group. You can see in the upper left-hand corner, this group is called SMT1. That stands for Social Media Tools 1. And I put the left-hand corner, you see my photo, you see my name. It says Edit Profile. And then I have this long list down the left, a vertical list, and it goes all the way down my favorites and pages that in gray is called SMT1 Austin. I have several groups. I'll show you those in a moment. So the list of photographs horizontal, the most recent student that has interacted is this student, this girl who's kissing her boyfriend there on the cheek. And then you have a male student with glasses and a gray t-shirt. He was the second to most recent. So in a classroom together, we're doing this virtually. You can, and this is being recorded also, you don't have to do this exact watch the recording, pause the recording, and then do some of the steps yourself and pause it again, and you know, things like that. So so this is an example of an announcement that I with a social media platform that had changed a bunch of uh, the screens and the layout of the screens. And I had already recorded and of course my tutorials did not match what they saw on their screen. So received some much better work from my students. So this announcement, keep in mind, if I had sent this out 25, so you see this gray oval box that says, or circle, says seen by 25, look right underneath that. And you have Facebook also see that there have been 9 comments. So students ask a question and they get an answer back from me or from another student. It's a wonderful way to do an announcement. The second thing is I post assignments. So this is week 7 assignment, and I posted this, and I have several. To the right, about halfway down the screenshot, and it says seen by 29 people. and poll. Weeks I was originally going to have it scheduled, I think, on a Monday night. So what I did was I had 2 evenings available, Tuesday and Thursday, and I thought I'll just ask my students and see which night would be better for them instead of just arbitrarily picking something. I asked my students, and so when I do a poll like this, a lot of people respond, and a lot of people look at. If you look at this one, this announcement with this poll or this survey was seen by 29 people. Again, actually clicked the button to choose Thursday evening or choose Tuesday evening, but that doesn't matter because 29 people saw the message, and those 29 people, most important part. So in this instance, I held the online session on Thursday, February the 27th at 6 p.m. because that was where I got the most responses. And there's also some other comments where students can say, so surveys and polls are an excellent way to include students in making decisions about the course. I think it makes them more, I just think it makes them feel more vested. A way to get their opinion. So this is a student forum. A student named Brittany Tate was having some problems with her blog, and she is actually writing to her students on the Facebook group, was seen by 33 of the 36 students, which is amazing. And she has multiple comments. They actually go way down the page. 3 students commented, and then I commented, and I said, these are all correct answers. Even correct a mistake. If the student says the answer is XYZ, I can log in and say, I understand why you think it's XYZ, but it's actually one of my students is writing a blog about, it's called My Fit Diaries, and she is studying the billion-dollar industry of electrify their abdominal muscles and all kinds of very strange stuff. And so she posts once a week, she posts her blog articles just to get feedback. Seen by everyone, which, you know, is a, it's not surprising because the diet industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry in the US, but our portion sizes are there's a student herself who did a video, and she posted the video, and students can click right on the little play triangle there and watch the video. Again, upper right hand corner, seen by 33 people. I mean, if she'd sent an email to everyone, maybe 2 or 3 people. You can contact Soren, and he can email you out all of my contact information. You can reach me at any one of these URLs. But what I want to show you is I want to pause for a moment and take some questions, and then, if that's okay with Soren. And things like that, and how I do a forum, and how I do a creative survey. So I'm going to go ahead here and um, it's not letting me exit.
This means that it's time for the participant to put forth questions you have on what Jill has talked about. Hit the
I love it because my students are on Facebook anyway, and just the mere fact that they get a notification from Facebook that they have a message or they have some find a lot of really interesting things. So
Yeah, we got a couple of participant typing right now, but maybe I can put forth just a little question meanwhile. Um, there must be, and click right, and then actually understanding, for example, an assignment that you're posting. How do you try to cope with this, or how do you try to make sure that everyone has understand it in a correct manner?
well, two in some way with that information. It could be a small connection, it could be they read the entire article, or they watched the entire video, or maybe they watched 1 minute of the video and then exited out of the video. But I want to make sure that they were have a forum right there. It's attached to the whatever I posted, the document, the video, the photo, the article, whatever it is, it's attached exactly underneath that item. Better if they type the question right underneath the post so that other students can see what questions have been asked. Chances are 4 or 5 students have the same or I don't understand what it is I'm supposed to do or what the next steps are. They type their question right there, and a fellow student can answer, or I can answer, or a couple students can say need an answer too. So that tells me that I didn't communicate it correctly, right? I didn't communicate it to the degree that I should have. So I assume, and I tell my students at the beginning of this, that you will complete the assignment by the date that's listed. You will read the article or watch the video and add your commentary just as you're instructed. And for grading purposes, if so, I just tell my students, I'm very hard about this. Or I just say, if you don't understand it, ask a question, and if you don't ask me any questions,
Follow-up word, responsibility at the students. Now Linda has posted a very interesting question. It seems that there are a lot of information on the pages. Do the students feel an information overload?
well, they put in, and a lot of the students are what they call a lurker, Lurker, which means they just go to the page and they might not students, from me, from other articles, videos from experts and things like that, that they wouldn't have sought out on their own. They wouldn't have done an internet search on a TED Talk that's relevant, or they wouldn't have searched The Guardian and this is your hub of information. It's there for you to use as much as you want, as often as you want, or as elaborate or as minimally as you want, and make them be responsible for curating Facebook. I mean, they're used to kind of searching for things and reading through the feed and all that. So, in my opinion, I mean, if I had students here, they might tell you something different.
Thing that you were briefly touching upon before you started your presentation. Christian writes, I have sometimes heard the argument from my students against the use of Facebook that Facebook is a private zone for students.
Is there a question there?
Um, it um, it is a question. What do you think about that? Do you have the same experience with some of your students that
I do hear that from my students, not very often, but occasionally. And what I tell them is this Facebook group is closed. That their Facebook account can be looked at by their classmates. If they're not friends with the classmate, then the classmate cannot see what's happening on their Facebook page. Or a boss or an employer, they can't see what's going on in the group either. They can't see if their employee is asking a lot of questions or doesn't understand a subject, because the Facebook group students, when they start using it, realize that no one else can see it unless they're in the class, enrolled in the class, and unless I invite the person. So I have control over who's in the group, who is not in the group. The other thing is my students, once they use it for a week or two, they adapt to it just fine. And I don't know how to say this without coming across the wrong way, but I design my course um, the best technology and prepare them in the best manner for working out in the professional world. And so I do have a couple students that say, oh, I hate people complain. Usually everyone jumps right in and eventually everyone in the class likes it. And they actually wish more of their college professors would have a Facebook group for that, for a different class. So
Okay.
I do.
Has a comment that I would like you to comment on because it seems to be a very hot topic this year in in the educational field of Denmark. Peter writes, when in a physical classroom, Facebook is actually a classroom-based learning environment where Facebook is integrated in a very unlucky manner.
I have a very good answer for that. Everybody, let's meet this Saturday, anyone that can. Um, the, the theory behind that is if you are posting assignments, announcements, and when you meet your students in the classroom on Monday morning from 8 to 10 a.m. or whatever the time is, then a lot of what I call housekeeping. So the classroom time, the face-to-face time, can be a much better quality time with your students because information hub already. It's available 24/7 for them. And when you're in the classroom, you can have very detailed discussions. You can have role playing. You can do much more face to face by just going over assignments and documents and reminding people about this test and that test and all that stuff. You can just, if a student says, when's the test due? You can say, really creative with how you interact with your students and use that time as a much to create a deeper connection with your students face to face, because you move all this other stuff out of the
Khan has a very interesting question, um, which I imagine most teachers using Facebook is experiencing a conflict like You talk about these 21st century skills when you know integrating Facebook in learning environments.
Absolutely. One of the things I do that country, and I suppose I have absorbed some of that. Um, in my syllabus at the very beginning of class, the beginning of the semester, very professional and polite manner, how to respond to someone that has a different opinion than yours. Actually, we go over a lot of that the first week. Then I document. And basically, it is a form that my students sign during the first week of class, and it says, I agree to gender-based, religious affiliation, and a whole long laundry list of things. In my posts online, I agree to this or that. Weeks in, and there's a comment online that does not fit the etiquette of the class, ban them from using the Facebook group until they have acknowledged that they knew this in the beginning, they agreed to it in the beginning, and they just slipped up, and going forward they need to follow the rules. Facebook in the classroom at all, and yes I do. Yes I do. I don't want it to sound like I never open Facebook. Um, Documents and file is very organized. So download the document I just loaded, or click on the phones and play the video, and then as soon as you're done, we're going to have a discussion about it. Um, or they can read the article again. So
We're gonna take a
I hope
couple of questions more.
that answered Peter's question.
Set up these groups, and Mona actually has a question, rather specific questions on how to set the features um, do you recommend using Facebook along with a learning manager system information, or will we need to post
show you the page, but briefly I'll touch on that now. It's an exceptional question because won't be holding class that day. They can get that from the intranet. One said all these other avenues of communication are to see if class was canceled that day or not, so they can sleep in. And they look to try to see if they, how many weeks they have or you'll see that it is one place for information and they can go there and search and up comes the thread. So it's a great way to upload an assignment file to the intranet. If you had to upload to the intranet and to Facebook, it would really not Blackboard, which is an online platform for our students, but hardly any of my students go to Blackboard. Automatically get a notification of the last 3 announcements that were posted. It's
Both Steen and Peter is stating comments about that Facebook is, and it's shown in studies, because students are doing irrelevant activities during school time and class time. But I think we'll leave this discussion here because it's if it's but you're in another place. I'm not sure that you're further along ahead, but it's you Facebook is more elevated or nivelated with media, so it has a lot of different functions for pupils and students in Denmark.
well, the one thing I can say about that before I share my screen of the actual Facebook group is that on Facebook during class and give them something to do, they don't have time to goof around with their friends and stuff on Facebook. The other thing you can do logged in and who isn't. So you can tell if you have 3 students in the back row that are doing something else and they're not logged into the Facebook group. I mean, you could tell that. So Makes sense?
Mm.
And you can tell as an instructor if they're logged into the group or not. So that's one way of discouraging them from texting with their friends and stuff. That's a great way to occupy their time and minimize the amount of socializing they do.
Yeah, but just to sum up, what you've been talking about actually is that this has and entails that the teacher and learners take a responsibility to manage the use of Facebook in class time. Uh,
That is certainly one viewpoint, Peter, and I know lots of my colleagues feel the same way as Peter. And that's okay. That's okay. I'm just here to present an option that and communication between my students and between some of the very introverted and shy students, and surprisingly enough, some very intricate and detailed conversations come out of this Facebook. Some cons to it, just as there is with it, every method of teaching. But I'm just basically here to show you how it works for me and let you know there's an option that perhaps you could try this for 4 weeks. You could say, okay, we're way. So just be flexible is basically the advice I would give.
Sounds like a great idea. And I think with that, we should move on.
And find my Facebook page. And I'm going to go here. Say I just have to find it here real quickly. There it is. Just want to make sure I always double check that. So to start from the beginning, this is my Jill Brockmann personal Facebook page. I have 2 Facebook vacation photos and things like that. This is the one where I have students connected to me and can ask me questions and things like that. So if I move,
Mm.
yes?
Yes, sorry,
Okay,
I'm
good.
gonna be more
Okay,
clear.
that's good. That's all right. So
Yes,
on
I
the left
am.
hand, on the left hand column, if you scroll down, so you see this area on the left called groups right here, and these are several groups that I participate in. And this is the group for so you have to bear with me. It has all kinds of interesting letters and numbers on it that I don't know anything about. So, um, I store all my assignment files right here under the Word files. So this is one place for them to come and find which is what one thing that I did. Let me go down here, and this says sample document, add anything you'd like. I was actually showing them in a tutorial if they wanted to have a team doc feature, and this is just like a Microsoft Word document. Um, let's see, and then I can so you could do an assignment, you could add, you know, whatever, or your students could create something as well. And then let me scroll down here, see if I can get this down. Then I click to go back into the group right here up at the top. And now it shows an announcement that I created a document. The announcement is right here. Okay, so a student could like this by saying, hey, I saw it, I got it, thanks. They could comment and say, I'm not so sure what number 3 is about or whatever. They could start a conversation. I can also come back, whoops, there we go. I can also come back up here to the files section and see here's the document. Make any changes that I want, or I can delete the document because it's not needed, or now you see the document done in the past. I can look and see how many members are here. This gives me the entire list of members. So all the students, what their thumbnails look like, so I can contact them. Group, and the closed group says anyone can see the group who is in the group. Only members see the post. Let's see what I do in this group, what I say, what I post. They can't see anything that goes on within the group. Or I can choose to make this group completely secret, which means go back here to the main feed. You see that I just posted this assignment yesterday. The posts. I mean, the biggest thing to remember is that when someone asks a question and I respond to the question, I respond to the whole class. The same student every single time that always asks questions, that student can, if 2 or 3 students have already asked the same question, I can respond once and I don't have to actually give them an answer. I can just say, look for the thread titled XYZ, and they can go find it themselves. Again, this is putting the responsibility back on the student. And commented on about WordPress themes. He thought they were a ripoff. And then this is a really wonderful, robust conversation that has happened with the students. So here's a student asking his classmates for to post assignments. So they were to create a Facebook page for their business or organization, product, or service as part of the curriculum. And then so that I didn't have to go hunt all over the internet to find their pages, links to every single Facebook page. So students could upload a document, they could upload a blog post, a photo, the results from their research or whatever. So these are all students that posted that the link did not work for some reason, which happens. And so I responded to him, and then he wrote back and said, let me do some investigating. And then this is oh, actually, this is different time. This is your Danish time zone. So this is probably late at night for me. And a lot of ways to interact with students that is not embarrassing and it's not overwhelming. The if a student, let's talk about the search function a little bit. Let's say one of the students posted something, or maybe I posted something a month ago, and a student wants to go back and find that. All I do the word I'm looking for, and I just hit enter, and it tells me there's no results, which is just wonderful. That's Murphy's. Okay, so I'm going to look for this post right here. And I hit enter. Oh, and here is the post. It shows me this one. If there's more posts that talk about this subject, they would be lined up right here. So it's like an archive of conversation and information before they ask a question, they can look and see if anyone else has already asked the question and just read over the responses. That happened. And just show you what the event page. Oh, actually, let me just create an event. That'll be much easier. To have a special guest speaker is going to come to our classroom. And this would be called guest. Some details here of what the lecture would be about, as many as I want. I could add the place, which let's say it's, I'm just going to say online. I'll say online via and I can set the time, which would be 6 p.m. or a.m. I'll just choose 6 p.m. I can even set an end time here. p.m. and I can choose who I want to see it. If I send this out publicly, that means everyone on Facebook has access to look at this event and read about it. Plus, let's say some school administrators or something. So, or I can just choose people that are members of the group. And then I would click to create here. Oh, and it looks like my students are going to freak out back in Austin. You just make it a little smaller. Okay. And to, make it look like a nice online now is this Billy there? Is that photos? And then once you add the photo, you can reposition the photo so that it looks the way you want. And then you can say contact the guest, promote the event, copy the event. I can stop notifications, all kinds of things I can do. So then it shows the day and time. And here I created the event. Some people might be going, and I've invited 34 other people. Okay, so they all received a message that the event People can also comment. So the a presentation that the students will be doing in class. It could be any number of things. So deleted an event, so I don't know how to do it. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go. Oh, I think I know how to do this. So go back to the event right here. Um, I can go back to the home page of the group, and you can see the announcement. I posted an event. And I can also, let me see if I can just delete. Yeah, I can also just delete the event before anybody RSVPs. And then something really important. And now this post was from February 20th. I can pin this post to the top. So it's the very first post that's seen. So if I pin the post, it moves it right up to, and I just click post. See, the new post automatically falls in underneath the post that I have pinned to the top. So you can, there's a lot of customization available to help you organize how the information appears. Probably all have wonderful questions. But I only have about 10 minutes.
And we shouldn't forget that Mona actually posted a question a while ago that relates to how you set the features of who they are. And she continues, how do you ensure that students cannot accept new members to the group? I've experienced that even though I was the administrator, students could allow students into a closed group.
Administrator of our group. No one else can invite members. Let me show you one thing. Let me go back here. Okay, so now let me go back and share my screen. And I'm hoping you guys can share. Okay, so right up in the upper right hand corner is, I think it looks like a little flower, but it's I would click on edit group settings. Then in here I choose if it's an open group, a closed group, and then I can also any member can add members, but I have to approve them first, which means I look at my student roster And if I don't recognize the student, I decline their request to join. Course, and then they write back and say, "Oh, but this is Susie Jones," and then I'm like, "Okay." So I figured
Okay,
it,
so you try to compare member names with all the list you've got from your
right,
administration.
yeah, and plus I know. Um, so I always allow members to be able to post. You can change it for only admins can post, but I do not recommend this because you want as much interaction as you can possibly get with your students, um, for sure. And if what I do is I rely on other students to help me monitor the page. So if there's something with a curse word or something like that, um, my students usually let me know right away. There's something that isn't working or shouldn't be used on the page.
Now
Are there
Mona is typing, and oh, she just right. Thank you for your.
okay? Oh, and Bo has a question
Hmm.
about Google. I like Google Docs very much. Awesome. That works great. Facebook does not have something that works like Google Docs. And if it's a document that you want specific teams to be working on and typing in, making changes simultaneously, then you probably should do a Google Doc. Document and still upload it to the Facebook page so other students can see it. So if 4 team members are sharing a Google Doc, the other classmates won't be able to see the Google Doc. Don't have to worry about some other student who's not even on their team coming in and making changes to their report. Um, so, it's pretty simple to integrate Google.
Further questions on the way. We still have 5 or 8 minutes on our hands.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I'd like if I could get you to comment on are um, are supposed to communicate with each other in a written language, which were at least some of the students of the participants we see, uh, and um, and parts of the curriculum.
My answer would be what I think, and correct me if I'm not getting at the right point. Um, Classroom time is greatly enhanced by having a dive deep into very complex theories and ideas and projects. So what this does is it frees up that first 15 sure next session you bring your, whatever, and finish your. You don't have to do all that housekeeping stuff. So you can work in groups. You can dive really deep into. Insist that the students use it. You can just say, go to the Facebook group and you'll find your answer there. And the more you require.
Sorry, I just got a message from Trina offhand that we're supposed to round things up.
Oh. Now is I'll share my screen again just for the last couple minutes, so that people can certainly do that, and that way I'm to.
Well, I think we'll do it in this way, that you just email it to Trina, right? And then she'll distribute it to we'll just upload it there.
Oh, wonderful!
In the
Oh my
spirit
gosh!
of your talk.
I should have been experimenting with your Facebook group. I'm sorry.
On behalf of all the participants, I want to thank you for a very interesting talk on how to use
And conversations about it, so anyone can feel free to contact me. Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye.
Great.